Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the weekly Old School Developer Q&A. I hope you all are having a wonderful Wednesday. First things first, before I introduce the couch, the sysadmin team upstairs are aware of issues for some servers right now, and they are working hard to make sure that that is resolved. We're going to continue the stream as usual, because there's nothing that we can sadly do about that. And I'll introduce the couch. So on your right, my left, we have Mod West. We have Mod Sween.
Hello.
Mod Aiza.
Hey.
And Mod Wolf, your host. And to my right, your left, Mod Ash.
Hi.
Mod Archie, you might know him. And all the way to the left, there is Mod Rock.
Hello.
Awesome. A very packed couch again this week. We have a couple of things to go over. First thing, I just wanted to highlight questions on Reddit and Twitter. Please do. Every week we post, usually the day before the stream, gathering questions on Reddit. I usually tweet out. Like and upvote those things based on what you like. We're going to start, if we're not answering some of those top questions, we're going to start at least responding on there, so you're aware we're not just ignoring it. And then other than that, I'm going to get straight into questions. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the team structure changes that happened recently. And Mod Aiza is taking a sip of a drink just as I'm asking the question, and I'm just about passing it over to you. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so there was a blog that was released yesterday. Was it yesterday?
It was
yesterday. Yeah, it was. Wow, time flies. So yesterday highlighted some team structure changes that we've recently gone through, including some changes to PvP and some polls. That was updated today, by the way, so if you haven't checked already, go to the Old School RuneScape news page. Make sure you read the updated version. If you have any feedback, use the links at the very bottom of the news post to provide them. But yeah, in short, the team structure changed basically with recent developments, with recent additions to the team. We wanted to make sure that we can remain as agile as we can. Obviously in the past, you'll notice, especially with things like Theatre of Blood, a project of that kind of scale does take up a lot of resource from the entire team. And during that time, there was a lot of questions, suggestions, and improvements that you guys were suggesting that we just had to turn around and say, sorry, but we can't do them at the moment. We want to still be able to do those. We still want to be able to put together polls on the regular for you and all that kind of stuff. So what better way to do that than to split out into different areas that different people will be kind of like focusing on, with a particular person that would be responsible for that team, so that we can just remain agile. So the team structure at the moment breaks down into 4 smaller teams. One of them is going to be focusing on quality of life, small content suggestions and changes, stuff like that. So think of it like the recent blog that was announced, the PvP changes, the polls in there, that would be done by this team. The decanting potions, for example, they're the kind of guys that have put together your weekly updates, just with a little bit more resource now to do exactly what it is that you want to get from them. There's also then going to be the mobile team. Obviously, we've got mobile, that's going to be carrying on in development. They're going to handle everything to do with mobile content changes and everything else that doesn't quite fit into the other teams as well. We then have the competitive gaming team, which is going to be headed up by yours truly, Mod Archie. Their kind of responsibilities will be around about PvP, PVM, skilling, those kind of updates that can bring in that competitive aspect. So dead man, last man standing, king of the skill, all that kind of cool stuff. One of their focuses as well is going to be trying to find new and innovative ways to revitalise the PvP community. And then lastly, but probably most exciting for all of you guys, is the large project team. And those are the people that are going to be responsible for looking at the big updates. So this is things like the Inferno, Fossil Island, Theatre of Blood, Chambers of Xeric, Dragon Slayer 2. Just something that wouldn't normally be able to be developed within a week or 2 weeks, things that will take a couple of months, which leads me nicely on to one of the things that's currently under works in the large project team, which I'd like Ash, if you could just quickly describe. That would be wonderful.
Hello. So, 2016 RuneFest, I pitched an idea for a sequel to My Arm's Big Adventure. And this had arisen partly from a player suggestion about how we could fill in the blank space that's just west of Gorok in the icy area up there. We pitched a colony of trolls living there, slightly smarter than the usual kind of troll, which ain't saying much. And I designed a quest where they'd be trying to form links with the troll stronghold trolls, and they would get, of all things, my arm, the troll, sent to them as an ambassador. Of course, my arm is not a very smart troll, as you may remember from that previous quest. My arm is, well, quite useless, and yeah, never mind the name. And you, the player, would of course have to go with him and help him get there, do some diplomacy, and win the favour of this tribe. Now, the idea that I had at the time was that my arm isn't going to be just told, kill 5 monsters or something, or you fetch me 5 coal or whatever kind of mission. What they want from him is to kill the wise old man. Now, of course, the wise old man is wise and quite good at magic. It's probably not going to go well for my arm if he tries this. I hope you like the story we've got in mind for this, and I'd be very excited to write it for you. Very excited indeed. Oh, over here are we? And the plan for doing this is that you'll get access to some of the technology from these trolls and learn the abilities they've evolved living up in this very cold area. Start with the camera work, mate. I'll be working on that with Mod Munro, who will be taking the lead on the rewards, and with Mod Wolf, the tester, to ensure that I try not to break the game too badly with it.
I'm sure you won't.
I've got a fairly good record.
You've got a pretty good track record.
I deployed a hotfix once, a long time ago, where if you spoke to any NPC in the game that had dialogue at all, and you spoke to them, they'd say, "Would you like a haircut?" And then they'd kick you offline. The slight miscommunication there between me and the engine team about what was going on there. We fixed it. Anyway, I'll be working on that. We've also got Mod Ghost making some beautiful trolls, including one gorgeous troll. Really gorgeous. And my arm is going to be very excited at the sight of her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
And also a chance to try and make friends with her mother. His name is Mother. And Mod Munro, who will be writing the rewards for this, will be putting out tweets to gather any thoughts you guys might have about what we could do with fire making that would make it useful. Like, people train it. We're not looking at adding new ways to train it. We'd like to give you a reason for having trained it, because it lacks one. Like, you get to another level and now you can set fire to another kind of log. We've got some ideas in mind for how it could do things for you, and Mod Munro will be working with any ideas he can get from outside the company and also inside the company about that over the coming weeks. We hope to have a blog out for you maybe late next week.
Indeed. Keep an eye out for that.
Thanks for listening.
I'd also recommend keeping an eye on at JagXMonroe's Twitter account. If we get that in the chat real quick, at JagXMonro, M-U-N-R-O. He'll be tweeting out about that at some point in the near future, so keep an eye on that. And I'm going to move on to the questions. We're 10 minutes in, and we've had some great discussions already. So, first question from Antti. Can it be possible for Croc's Dungeon to allow any path to be used once the quest is complete to assist in getting to the skeletal monkeys? It's hard to remember it along with the regicide/underground path pattern for multiple accounts.
It'd be a very handy thing to have once you complete the quest.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, you can navigate your way back to Croc automatically, can't you, after you make it there? So why not allow the same thing to where you want to get to?
Cool. Awesome. The next question is from Gentle Tractor. He asks if we can discuss our opinions on what he defines as the Tier 75 plateau, which essentially is... It feels like Tier 75 weapons, as of now, like the Twisted Bow and Scythe, have effects which make their potency more similar to a Tier 80 or even 90 weapon, despite being Tier 75.
Yeah, this one's interesting. So, I mean, I'll speak because obviously I did the Theatre of Blood dev blog, put together the rewards, not put together the rewards, but pitched the rewards to the community and took community feedback. Now, when we were doing Dragon Slayer 2, there was a lot of discussion around what tier items should be, and should they sit at 75, should they sit at 80, and a lot of it came up again at Theatre of Blood. And at the time, people were saying that, oh, we don't really want tier 80 weaponry. I mean, a lot of it is strong that kind of like would warrant being tier 80, but actually we're not ready for tier 80, so let's have it at tier 75. So we're like, okay, fine, we'll put it in at tier 75. And then all of a sudden, a thread appeared on Reddit over the last few days that's like, we've got a lot of tier 75 weapons in game. We really should have some tier 80 weapons. Why aren't there any tier 80 weapons? And it's not that we don't want tier 80 weapons. If you guys want tier 80 weapons, then we're more than happy to, as part of rewards, put them forward to a poll. But before this week, the overall feedback was that let's not do tier 80, let's stick at tier 75 because of power creep. And that's literally it. There's nothing more to it. If you want stronger weapons, if you want things to come out with higher requirements, then we need the overwhelming feedback to suggest that. And
yeah, so requests will usually stick with tier 75 in terms of stats, but add really niche effects, which is why you have stuff like the Revenant crossbow. And now now you seem to want the opposite.
I've always presumed that tiers, the only thing that came from an extra tier, like an extra level on tier, was base stats. But the effects, as you, like with the scythe and with the bow, are the thing that make it more powerful than just a tier 75 weapon comparatively to like a 70 whip, right? Like it's not just a buff in stats, there's something else there. And I presume we're going to continue doing that. There's a lot of niches that we can fill. What do you think?
Does the Granite Maul look like a tier 50?
Exactly. Special attacks have always had this buff comparatively to the stats or something. That's a good comparison, I think.
We put the scythe into the game through the beta. We let people test it. We had the players in the office. It's not like we snuck it in as like, haha, we got them. This is actually a tier 80.
So bottom line is, if you as the community are ready to start looking at weapons that are at tier 80, then sure, we'll do the same. If you're not, then we'll continue to look at tier 75 stats, but with cool effects that, they might feel like they're more powerful than a tier 75, standard weapon with no effects, but hey, that's the reason they have an effect. So it's down to you guys.
Cool. Next question is from Ace. Would it be possible to change Cerberus pools so after it dies, the lava pools despawn? Currently, they can remain and be on top of loot. Thoughts?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were...
I thought you were continuing.
Yeah, me too. I thought you paused and were like waiting to say the rest of it.
That was it. Thoughts?
We do it with other bosses. It would make sense to do it for Cerberus too.
I think we did it with the ghosts for Cerberus at one point.
Yes, we did.
Cool.
I mean, once somebody's put a pool of something nasty on the ground, the fact that they've dropped dead doesn't necessarily mean that the pool has to dry up immediately. But on the other hand, it's rather nice if it does. Just as he spawned some ghosts, they don't have to vanish just because she's died while the ghosts were in transit to you. But I thought it'd be nice if they did.
Yeah. Cool, a pretty unanimous agreement there. Conquista asked, Theatre of Blood has been out for almost 2 months now. Would it be possible to be given the drop rates anytime soon?
Yes. I believe me and Kieran were having a discussion. Well, I don't believe, I know that we were.
I think we had a discussion.
Sure that you have spoken to this guy we speak to every day.
So it's ultimately down to Mod Kieran, but we have had the discussion as to do we want to release the drop rates? I believe Oblivion have put together a lot of information themselves, the PVM clan, and speculated as to what drop rates are, and that kind of like sparked the point of, okay, do you reckon that we should actually release it? So very soon, yes. There's just been a lot of stuff going on, obviously, with the team restructuring and all that kind of stuff. But we'll put together a nice little infographic and then release that for you all to see.
Cool. Stay tuned for that. That's going to look absolutely epic. I like when we mock those up and they get tweeted out. They look pretty good usually.
And this one's a very interesting one with how it all works. So it will be
spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers. It's not just a regular drop. Ooh. 222 asks, can some improvements be made for player-owned house trophies? At the very least, can the head be returned and not give additional combat experience, or perhaps allowing it to be interchangeable like the jar display?
I'd like to make it like the jar display, because at the moment if you want to display all your heads you need like 8 different rooms of the same thing, essentially.
So you can store a head and right-click change it kind of thing?
I would like something like that. If everyone else would, then I'm sure we can look at throwing it in the backlog.
Any other thoughts?
I think it's in the backlog.
Oh, cool.
If it is already, even better.
It's just a matter of getting to it, yeah.
Awesome. Frickatot asks, in the past there's been multiple suggestions of a new skill to be added to the game. While people aren't necessarily against introducing a new skill, there's always been an issue settling on which skill we would have, as well as how to make the content and rewards suitable for old school. The actual question is, if OSRS were to ever have a new skill added to the game in the future, what would be the biggest obstacles to overcome? Would it be coming up with rewards, ensuring the content is engaging, avoiding power creep, making sure existing content isn't devalued, etc.? He essentially answered his own question in like 20
all of
different
those.
I think
ways.
you just
say
gave
all of the
yeah.
above.
I think the XP rates would be the biggest clincher because
How
people
much
will be like,
extra
oh,
hours
it's
it
too
adds.
slow, oh, it's too fast. So you'd want to probably get somewhere in the middle of the current skills. So I guess that's kind of easy to solve. Never mind.
I think that also depends on what you actually get from the skill.
Yeah.
If what you get from the skill is pretty good in terms of whatever we do, then I'd think that we perhaps look on making it on the lower side.
Yeah. Or even just have two like methods where one's really good for experience, one's really good for money, depending on what the skill is, of course.
I think all of the other, like everything that was mentioned is pretty much a case of things that we'd have to consider. If someone was to say to me, oh, I either think of a new skill, the first thing that I would be thinking of is like, okay, what's the point of the new skill? That's the biggest hurdle, is like, what is this new skill going to actually do, and what are you going to use to actually level it?
So how it interacts with stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Click on something and you just wait.
See if you recall when Slayer first came out back in early 05, a lot of the feedback I was seeing on the forums was, what is the point of this? I've been killing monsters all my RuneScape career, all 4 years of it that had been in those days, because they were quite veterans. And we kill monsters, but now we've got this skill where we can be told to kill more monsters. What was good about it? Well, according to the news post, they might drop more cash. I think they did too. But people didn't always see the point at first. It's amazing how that seems to have shifted. People sure do seem to want it these days. But yeah, could we have a skill where you go and do this? Yes, very much so, as long as there's a reason for doing it. Of course, could be that if you stick a high score table on the internet for clicking on anything, people were going to turn up and start clicking on the darn thing. But we'd like to make it worth having and fun as well.
So it's like if you were to take RS3, for example, divination is essentially you're gathering materials to do invention. But divination by itself is
gathering skill.
Is just clicking to get on the high
I
score
believe they
table.
had something with their energy that you could create, like portents and things.
Okay.
But generally it was... my theory has always been that like 30% of the skills in game are just fishing or woodcutting, just with different things. So like, divination is to an extent fishing in that game. It is you're clicking on a thing and gathering a thing, and that thing can be used not for cooking but for making.
It interacts with a lot of skills, like you could build special things that allows you to gain XP or get more resources from other skills and things like that.
So with sailing, one of the things that we ran into was we wanted to put some time into it, flesh out the design, give them something actually that they knew what they were voting for. But obviously the more time we put into that, we're potentially wasting months of developers, QA artists, what have you. So there's only so much time that we can actually afford to put into these things, because we kind of have to assume that there's a good chance it'll fail, regardless, because it is a new skill. So I would say if it was going to happen, I would say it would probably have to be a very well-backed and supported community idea, which we could then build off of ourselves. But we're not going to be spending a ton of time ourselves with resource trying to make a new skill for you guys, at least in the immediate future that I know of.
I love the dramatic head movements. that I'm just like, not in the immediate future.
Are we sure? Are we sure?
Do you know if that's going to happen? I don't know.
I do have a design for a new skill, but that's quite a way away.
Oh, okay.
I will show it to I think I've shown it to a few of you.
We have if you don't know, we have offsites where we go and plan ideas for what we're going to announce at RuneFest and discuss, and that's coming up pretty soon. So, are you gonna?
What are you suggesting?
I have no idea, but I'm going to move on to the next question.
Well, I seem to recall somebody suggested that after the first day of the next offsite, we should all go to that diner up the A10.
Okay, yeah, I like
Can
that
we
one.
not say what it is? Because I really don't want people ringing.
I'm still waiting for people to confirm on that, because normally I organise those trips. And
I didn't respond to the email, but
no, I'm going to send another
It's
email.
fine.
Yeah.
There's lots of diners on the A10, I'm sure. It's a big road. It's a big motorway.
It is.
We'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Limited a little bit by being in
But I think it's safe to say that we're
We
not
like
going
the
to go
place, we
there
don't want
after the
to advertise.
offsite now.
Yeah, I just don't want to get phone calls.
like that one time there's a Q&A in the pub.
No,
Yeah.
I watched that one as a
one
viewer and I
mentions
thought
that.
I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, it's called Blue Moon. That sounds like a great
Yeah.
idea. I wish I'd been there. There was pizza, they told me.
Well, there was a lot of people. Moving on, Deadman Mode Noob asks, can you discuss the divide between PKers and the rest of the community? In the recent Revs poll, every question that offered additions to PvP mechanics were met with some form of opposition. Thoughts?
Oh, there's lots of thoughts on this. You look like you were around to say something.
We have the right sound.
It's difficult, right? So people, I think PKs just assume that skillers and PVMers just vote no out of spite. They might not actually like the individual rewards themselves. I personally wasn't really keen on the way that the teleblock worked. I thought like having a usable scroll in place of a spell is quite a weird design. I thought I'd rather be a bit fleshed out. Same as loot keys, when they were first polled, I'd rather that be fleshed out a little bit better. So they might not be voting out of spite, they just might not like it.
Yeah, I think there's exactly as Sween just said there are times where you feel like, okay, there's no real reason as to why this particular question should fail. And there are times where that is a genuine thing. But when it comes to rewards, there's a lot of things that you do have to take into account. And I've posted like opinions in places before that people have put onto Reddit, and I'm sure that you've probably seen what I've said. But at the end of the day, like the player base shifts all the time and people like different things, and there are certain rewards that might not benefit everyone. And at the end of the day, everyone's playing this game for them and what they find enjoyable, and their friends as well. But I don't think the divide is as bad as what it's made out to be. I do feel that most of the time it's that rewards need to be better thought out. But we're in the position where, for the reward poll in particular, every reward that was on that list was community suggested, every single one of them. They were modified a little bit by us in the team. I think the only one that wasn't fully community suggested, it's been suggested in the past, was the spell, the restraint. So yeah, it's kind of like we put together community suggestions. If they don't pass, then maybe it's that we need to look at getting more involvement from the community to figure out what would pass. But if we don't get that information, then we can only really rely on what we've been given. That's all we can work with. So I think there is probably a little bit where people just, there's this whole meme that goes around where PVMers don't want to die in the wilderness, so they vote no out of spite. Like, there might be a little bit of that, but in all honesty, I think for the majority of people that vote, that's not the case. And it's as Sween said, it's just that they didn't like the idea. Yeah. And I think it's okay to vote no on stuff that you don't like. Like, that is fine. It's our job to make sure that we find stuff that more people like. And that's where we need to work with you. That's why we're working very closely currently with the PvP community. I want to get ideas that PvPers feel would benefit PvPers more than things that would benefit them in the sense that they're bringing in people that aren't really interested in PvP. So if we can get rewards that are for PvPers, by PvPers, for PvP, then I think we have a much better chance of getting them passing. Like, for example, if you were to say to me 6 months ago, will Rev Caves pass? Will Rev Caves pass a poll? Everyone would have turned around and said no, because they did say no. But Rev Caves passed a poll. And guess what? It wasn't 46,000 PvPers that voted on Rev Caves.
Can I just point out, by the way, have you ever thought about going into politics? Because I
was just going to say, this is such a great speech.
I think my favourite line there was, for the what was it? By the PvPers, from the PvPers, for the PvPers. And I was like, yeah, I'm so empowered right now.
The Rev Caves were also in game 6 months ago.
All right, well, 9 months ago then. All right.
Just very briefly as well. It's also assumed, like the initial question is also assuming that PvPers are one unified community with the same opinion.
Yeah.
They're really not.
They're really not. With the updates we announced yesterday, which most people were in favour of, bar the one to teleblock, which we then changed accordingly, they can't agree what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're ruining the way I PK, and other people are like, no, you're making the way I PK better. So there's not one unified voice that we're just ignoring, or skillers and PVMers are just shouting down.
It's very difficult. Like, these bags didn't just appear because I was up last night playing RuneScape.
When you first joined, there was no bags. It was all fresh-faced Aiza, and now you've been introduced to the community.
A lot of discussion going on, a lot of back and forth, and there's people even within the PvP community now that aren't happy with the changes. But at the end of the day, like I've said to them, it is what it is, and I think overall the changes that we are making are better. But yeah.
Well, we're not going to please them all, and the status quo certainly doesn't please them all.
Right, I'm going to ask Mod John just to pop up the pictures from one of our artists in the community, Artiste OSRS. If we quickly swap screen, her Twitter handle will be at the bottom, I believe. There you go. So you might have saw a couple of these on Reddit. Some of these are great. Cool. And she does a lot of great artwork. If you just scroll through to the next one, so that one's Wilderness Skilling, ironic. That one's really cool, that Wyvern one. I quite like that one. Next one, please. That's an Aaron.
This one's look. The environment on this one was so cool.
That was
I just
really
love the attention to detail.
What do
and
you
style.
think? What do you think, Mod West?
Yeah, I've seen these on a post on Twitter and Reddit. They're really nice.
And there's one more, I believe, which is the most recent one that she's posted. And she's actually sent that one in, which is right here. I've been hiding it off stream.
Yeah,
So
I can move my legs now.
right
I'll kick
here.
on it.
Well, there you go. She sent it in, so thank you for sending that in. If anybody wants to send anything in themselves, please do get in contact with us. We're always up for showcasing all your talent and work.
Well, anything else you might want to send? Somebody sent me a £10 note once.
I didn't know we opened our post up to the public. I thought people just sometimes sent.
It's on the website,
Sometimes they
right?
did, but now, you know,
Now we're encouraging it.
why not?
Oh,
Look how
okay.
cool this stuff is.
Send us everything.
Yeah, there you go. At Artiste OSRS, I believe she does commissions as well. So if you want one made of a particular thing,
Missed my opportunity.
let her know. What? What's up?
The camera was right here, and I was going to do the whole.
Oh,
you know,
dude, come
on the
on.
leg, but
Oh,
that didn't work out.
I really like seeing community's art and how they interpret some of the models that are a bit basic. So.
I really like the water pencil thing that she like. I just like that kind of art style in general. It's quite nice. Cool. So moving on, next question I have is from Jester21. Can you look into possibly adding more swamp crabs to the Town of Sleep, possibly making it multi instead of single combat, and maybe adding an island similar to the Sand Crab Island at a cost to get to?
Are they that busy?
I don't
I
know.
think it's because sand crabs are incredibly busy as well, so they want something that's
Oh.
more akin to it. Like with ammonite crabs, we introduced a couple of spots, but then if we're going to bring in more, they just want more places to train like
Yeah, I guess. I was there recently and I didn't really see many people there. But I was doing like the proper mort, getting my mortmires.
Do many people even know you can do that?
I'd hope so. I mean, it's a bit.
Did you ever
if
tell
you're
them?
just training, it's a bit awkward because obviously you then have to go bank.
I
But
don't think we've actually ever explicitly told people that
You know you can use bloom on those crabs and they will drop Mortmire fungi, just so you're aware. It's pretty cool. I thought that was a cool effect. I think Mod Rye did that. Yeah, awesome. Superman, oh yeah, everybody's question marking. Yeah, there you go. Surprise, guys.
New Iron Man meta.
If you train on them,
So-
if you use bloom beforehand, you get them drop.
is that what the question marks are all about?
I think
They're
so.
like, oh, we didn't know this.
Well, Mod
Or-
Lenny's here, so it's not when he speaks.
I don't know why they do that. And then they all
Although-
stand smiley faces because we're a good chat, we're a nice chat. And I'm going to move on to the next question. See, I motivate the chat to be kind, Chris. You could have tried that.
Who's a good chap? Who's a good little
You're a nice chat. Pet them. Superman OSRS.
Oh,
Can
wow.
the Scythe of Vitter's 3 attacks be prioritised to hit the target that you click on if the NPC is large enough? It's frustrating when something like Bandos Godwall's Dungeon, one of the minions can walk nearby and take one of the hits.
Sorry, I just choked on my water.
you okay, bro?
I'm fine.
Didn't Kieran back out because he'd got a cough?
I didn't have
did
a cough. I
actually.
just
You alright?
yeah, I'm fine.
You ready?
I could probably cough some more, but I'll try not to.
Can you hit him very hard on the back and see if it helps?
God, too hard.
I don't know, he might throw him out. I think.
It might help me.
Swings out, so poof, off he goes. Iron
Second
Man
door to
style.
the streaming.
At one point, you need to go to the PC, and I'm just waiting for
Yeah,
him
Sven's
to
gonna
pick
pick
you
you
up and just swap you
Heimlich
down.
manoeuvre, yes.
Did anybody get that question? Do you want to read it again?
Please.
Yes, please.
Oh, yes. Superman OSRS asked, can the Scythe of Vitter's 3 attacks be prioritised to hit the target that you click on if the NPC is large enough? It's frustrating when something like at Bandos Godwall's Dungeon, one of the minions can walk by and take one of the hits.
How does it work for chins?
Well, chins, it always hits the target that you attack and then surrounding
AoE
targets.
around.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
way that the
yeah.
scythe works is Kieran was explaining this when we were going through development of it, is that target in the middle, one left, one right. If there is more than one target, it will hit this one, this one, this one. But if it's a big enough NPC, it will hit it 3 times. So I guess in this instance, big NPC, little NPC, it's still hitting this one once and this one twice.
Because of the tile it's perhaps looking at for the
Because I
NPC.
believe it will always look for a tile either side, and if it doesn't find it, it will hit that 3 times.
So perhaps if we made it look for the size of the NPC first as opposed
Yeah,
to the
I
tile.
can't remember if that was intentional though.
Oh,
because of its
Alex, Mod Curse.
Yeah, I just said I don't
said
think it was
intended.
I think
But
literally, like I think it was intentional because of like the strength of the scythe. But maybe it can be changed.
I was going to say,
Interesting.
it's because it's so clearly best in slot, does it need an extra?
Why don't we make it so that it's 4.5 bill rather than 3.5 bill? That's sure.
I was going to say, yeah, the feedback for this question is severely lacking. That's because nobody in the chat has a site.
Yeah, I've never used one to experience it, so.
cool. Right. Well, it is intended, and if there is enough demand in the future, we can revisit it, perhaps. Moving on to the next question from Tetra. Can the Lunar, Ancient, and Arcane spells... I love when they spam smiley faces.
It's just now they
much
say,
better.
I do. They all have scythes.
Yeah, what has happened to this chat? What have you done? Well done.
Thank you. I was quite proud of that. You know, the concept is like, you know when you get a dog and it's a little bit too boisterous? So you... That's what I did with the chat. And now they've calmed down.
Whisperer.
They're a lot nicer. And they also have
Like,
lost...
calm down, chats.
Anyway, Tetra asked, can the Lunar, Ancient, and Arcane spells be added to the Magic Level Up Guide, the pop-up level up?
It's a funny thing, but the I don't know why, but back in when the Ancients were first made, the pop-up level up things were written so that it would show you the spells of the spellbook you're on, but only while you're on it. So if you're on Ancients and you level up to one that unlocks a new Ancient, it tells you, but not if you are on Standards, and vice versa. So the darn things in there, like, or even for the Arceus spellbook, since we got the existing behaviour, we stayed consistent with it for the time being. If you're on the Arceus spellbook, it'll tell you about all the ones of those you are levelling up to, but not tell you about the standard ones because you're not on that spellbook. I don't know why the original dev making Ancients decided to do it that way, and to be honest, I'd be quite glad if it were not that way. But of all the things we could have been doing, that didn't seem like a pressing one because it's pretty rare that anyone complains they're not getting enough info in those things.
There's also some skill guides that only will show information if like you've completed the quest that provides that item.
That's actually the convention for almost all of them, I think.
Wow.
That seems like, to me, I would expect like it gives you, oh, you do this and you can make darts regardless of not whether you've completed Tourist Drugs, because it points. Oh,
that's
you can do
how we design it
Tourist
these days, like we do in the skill guides, the in-game skill guides. But for the legacy stuff in the level up pop-ups, we've stayed with the 2007 convention so far.
Wasn't at one point Ed rewriting the level up system?
He
as
wrote
a
some
project?
infrastructure that would do it. Of course, we then asked him to do rather a lot of other things instead that were a bit more exciting, including Dragon Slayer 2, and now he's helping out with mobile. So I don't see us taking him off that to rewrite level up messages anytime soon.
I think people are quite happy with Dragon Slayer 2 comparatively to that.
Yeah, true. But then even at that point, there's a lot of stuff that we are looking at for as part of the opening or early game experience. This forms part of that as well. That includes kind of like level up as well as skill guide reworks. There's a lot of them that are a little bit dated. The construction one in particular is an absolute nightmare, I find personally, to figure out where anything is or what level requires it, because you have to go through the particular rooms and some stuff's...
Yes, they're all sorted into categories that do not correspond to a darn thing.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out how to build a tea shelf, and I was like, well, where's the information? I just go on the wiki. It's easy.
At least our office has a tea shelf.
We do. I'm going to ask some chat questions that I've not answered any at Old School RS, and they'll be picked out by ModMaz today. Thank you very much, ModMaz. And the first question that I should have probably asked a little bit earlier, but can you tell us who's on each of the small teams?
I mean, it's at the moment, we could say what's on the teams at the moment, but it's very flexible. So one team could have a group of members in it for 1 month, then the next month it'll be completely shifted around and people will just move in and out as and when resources or requirements are necessary for certain things. So,
cool.
Yeah.
You may as well tell them what it is for now, because I don't see us moving in the coming couple of weeks anyway.
Yeah, sure.
So the small update team is being led by Kieran, is being supported by Mod Lenny and Mods... You in it?
Yep.
Yep. Sorry, man. I know we were in a meeting earlier.
Rock and Bruno.
Rock and Bruno. And myself and Aiza are kind of supporting all teams. Competitive Gaming is being led by Mod Archie and Mod Jed. And I can't quite remember who's in your team. Would you like to?
I have Mod Monroe working with me on the Troll quest, and he'll be taking the lead on the rewards. I'll be taking the lead on the quest and story, because I do like writing my ARM dialogue and also Wise Old Man dialogue, and I'm finally getting to do a quest with both of them. And I have Mod Wolf as the tester to make sure we don't accidentally break everything. And we've got Mod Ghost doing character art, Mod Rye doing a lot of environments. We hope to borrow Mod West to do some more environments, and I'm not sure whether we told him. Hello.
Oh yeah, by the way, I should have probably told you that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. So yeah, this should look good. And we are making full use of Sweden and Asia to help with our comms and blog writing.
Cool.
Once the Troll Quest's out in the, I think mid-autumn or thereabouts, best not to be too firm about that while we've still got such a long way to go here, I'll likely switch off from the project team and maybe Kieran will switch in or something of the sort. because he likes big projects slightly more than I do, I think, except I called dibs on the My Arm Wise Old Man quest because, well, for obvious reasons, I wanted it.
Cool. Yeah, biggest thing to point out there is that it's flexible. It'll change over time, so we're not going to like put it on the website probably or something like that. But
Yeah, no, of course.
there you go for now.
Lots of shared resource, like namely CM and art, they'll help out
Yeah.
wherever is needed.
Yeah, I guess when we talk about like new team structure, it's not like anything because things have changed. But overall, all it really means now is that we just know who to go to when we want something in particular that needs to be, you know, kind of like either prioritised or focused on, and that we have dedicated resource now to say, okay, there's a big project going on, but everything else is still also going to be going on.
That's the important bit, because having got the team bigger than it used to be, we can now do more things at the same time. So we're not going to ring fence the entire team and say, okay, everyone's doing Fossil Island or Inferno or Theatre of Blood, and no other work's going to happen for a few weeks. We don't like doing that kind of thing, because we'd like being able to say yes when you ask for stuff here. And having a quality of life team doing live operations alongside all the time means we should be able to keep trickling that kind of stuff out all the time.
I don't think we actually mentioned the who's on the mobile team as well. I think we actually missed them out.
Oh.
Which is unfortunate, which is headed up by Mod Ed,
Yeah.
with Mod Maz assisting him. And the QA is Mod Curse.
Yes.
Can't
Cool.
forget those guys.
I don't believe we need
And
to
Gal.
talk about mobile. Ooh. Mod John, can I please ask you to mute mods Aiza and West so I can send them on over to the PC
I've
while,
spoke way too much.
while I ask the next question and let you guys shunt on over. The next question I'm going to ask is also from the chat. Do you know if we can also give the Prime 1 month membership away to somebody? Do you know if it's like a code we can give away or if they have to claim it themselves?
I don't think it's code. It's very much a case of you go to Prime, you click to redeem the promotion, and then it directs you to your RuneScape account, which you have to log into.
Okay.
So unless you were to log into your friend's RuneScape account, which I highly recommend you don't do for account security reasons, then no, you can't give it away.
Cool. Another chat question. Can we have, we've asked that one before, sorry. Can the ability to store Barbarian Assault items be changed to allow any item to be stored on its own? And the addition of an achievement diary armor stand, that's a separate question. To focus that question, sorry, these don't get rewritten, the chat ones, so the question is, when you store Barbarian Assault items, can they be stored individually instead of as a set?
Yes, please.
Is that okay? Cool. Are we okay over there, guys? He's good? All right, let's send on over to the PCs, to mods Aiza and West.
All right, hi guys. So there is no camera, so don't be worried. We're aware that you can't see us.
We're invisible.
We're invisible. Ooh. So what you can see here is the Thermonuclear Scepter. I did initially have Max on for Mage, but then I thought Arims and Zami just seemed a bit more fitting. So it has just the standard casting animations as you'd expect. Hey.
Oh, it's so good.
And just a slightly closer view of it there. And there is also a slight change when you uncharge it, so let's just show you that as well. So to make sure you know when it's charged, I do want to do that, yeah. As you can see, the gem is slightly less vibrant, and I can put that back in there. Where's my thingy? There it is.
While you do that, it's this was one of the ones that we showcased on the Q&A a few weeks ago and gave people the choice between different variations of the model, different colour schemes, and this is the one that came out most popular. Yeah, hopefully you like it.
I think this was my favourite one as well.
Yeah, me too.
That's great. Okay, and now moving on to Craw's bow. So, oh no, that was failed.
This is like my favourite weapon in the entire game. Like, this is going to be worth money just because of how good it looks. No offence to all the others, like the others look great, but this one here is like, it was like a combination to begin with. I'm sure you'll be able to go into it in more detail, Wes, but originally I think Rye pitched it as having the defensive shield part on the top.
Yeah, the shield was sort of more towards the top part, and he posted on Twitter. They gave some feedback, and yeah, he moved the shield towards the arm, so it's more of like a guard.
Let's raise those pog champs in the chat, please.
And this sort of glow here, so when you uncharge it, this glow will disappear, and I will demonstrate that for you here. Uncharge, I do, and as you can see, the glow is now gone, so you can tell. Also, before I forget, I've given that away, but you've seen this before already. Let's charge it again and fire it. So as you can see, it's got a nice glow to the arrow as well, much like the crystal bow.
Oh, that's the first time I've seen it actually fire.
It looks so good, doesn't it? And this might come up again, but people were always asking for the twisted bow to have a sort of effect like this as well, and I'm still getting around to that. But
Everyone's like, it's so fast. Yeah, that's what it was polled at. It's a 3 tick, I think. No, a speed of. It's like a 3. I don't know, 3 tick weapon.
4 with 3 on rapid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 on rapid.
Yeah.
So it was in the poll with all of the details. It would be 4 as normal and 3 on rapid. So yeah, it's very fast.
Yep, awesome.
Same as an
And
MSB.
now on to the final one, the Vigora's chain mace. There we go, got that all there. So
Nice
based
colour
on
scheme.
the, yeah, matches the mace quite well, that skin, doesn't it? So before it was sort of up on the shoulder, the idea was that it was sort of like a magic trick weapon where you could change it from a normal mace into a chain mace at the click of a button. But that wasn't really what the players wanted. So what we've done here is I've made it floppy like you'd expect a mace to be. As you can see, like that. I'll do a few more attacks. And the same with this one as well. So when you uncharge it, the glow that you can see there, the purple glow will disappear. So you can tell once it's run out of charges, essentially. So yeah, that's all the weapons.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about this one, you want to show them the uncharged version while we're here. I'll
Yeah,
just
for
talk
sure.
as I always do. But it's like when the attack animation, it really seems like there's some weight behind it because it kind of like comes back and then slams down. I think that looks really cool.
There you go, that's the uncharged version. As you can see, quite a difference. Yeah, I did quite enjoy making this animation.
And even running as well, it kind of like flails around.
Oh yeah, I had to, the way the sort of flails, and same with the whip as well. If I touch the whip, as you can see, it's got sort of these transforms down the whip. Basically, each connection has its own transform, and if you were to just play a normal walk animation, they'd all just be straight, and you'd have, if you'd play that with the whip, you'd have this sort of straight whip, and it wouldn't really look very good. So basically, a new walk and run animation had to be made, so you can just sort of have it flop in as you run.
Yeah. There's a few people mentioning about how it doesn't look like a flail. Technically, it's not a flail; it's a chain mace. I guess I don't really know what the difference between a chain mace and a flail is, but I'd imagine that
Just the name.
it's just the name.
I don't know. Maybe there's an
I
actual
like in
definition.
war weaponry, are they the same?
I don't know. I guess we can Wikipedia it.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
I'm just going to add the charges right back to it, just so you can see it in its charged version for one last time. So just a quick wind up. Okay, cool. Everything's all good now.
Awesome. Let's invite you guys back on the couch. Very well done. Those look awesome, by the way, Mod West. Your mace looks a lot floppier, and honestly, that crossbow is incredible. That looks really good.
I thought
Your mace looks
very
floppier
northern
is
saying
the
crossbow.
best compliment I've heard.
So in that time, I used that little commercial break to kind of catch up on what's going on in terms of the server stuff.
Yes.
Sysadmin are actively looking into it. Progress is good. In the meantime, I believe communication has been shared with everyone in game and on social media. Probably best to avoid high risk activities whilst we resolve the issue. So before I just point that out there.
I'm afraid since it's not the kind of thing where content developers or QA testers or community engagement people can help the sysadmins do it better, we'll carry on answering the questions you've sent us.
Indeed.
Sorry.
The next question is from Alarm Seed. Can something be done to deter people from leaving Barbarian assault teams before waves 10? It stops everyone else at the wave and forces them to restart. Perhaps either, he has some suggestions, I'm not sure, I don't like some of them, but he said perhaps only allow the reward to be claimed once the Queen has been defeated, or perhaps some other incentive to have people stay until the end. That's all he
Had a
said.
deposit of some sort where you put a deposit in and you only get it back if you
Make it all the way through. I like that.
that kind of thing.
I'd just cost them points that they've earned. If they complete a full run, they get the full points, and if they leave on an earlier wave, they get charged some of the points they've earned.
I like that.
So it incentivises them. It's probably better to finish the whole thing rather than just drop out and annoy everyone else.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm more inclined for that one. Particularly, like, there will be instances where people have to leave before wave 10 legitimately, not
Yeah.
just because they're trying to screw everyone over.
Yeah.
They might have to, mum's calling, you might have to go for dinner.
But I can't pause.
In 2018,
Yeah, you don't know. If I could live with my parents, though, I really would. I rang my dad the other day and I was like, I'm really tired of like living alone. It's so lonely. Can you do my washing? Anyway.
So get a dog.
I'm getting a puppy, and I'm looking forward to that.
I'm probably the only one who lives with their parents, and it gets old quickly.
Pardon?
I think I'm the only one on the sofa that's living with their parents, and it gets old quick.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh. Oof.
Need to move closer.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting a puppy. You've excited me again now. Phrasing, perhaps, sorry. Grandmaster asked, earlier this year, Kieran seemed keen on improving and rebalancing some of the diary rewards. He actually has a picture on this one, Mod John, that he has the suggestions of a couple of updates for some of the diaries. I don't know which ones you like out of those in particular, but the Faldo diary there, the addition is elite access to, oh God, we didn't think this through, did we?
No.
It says
Thanks
elite
deposit
access.
box on the Heroes Guild.
Oh, I went through this, didn't I?
Yeah.
So of these, we've added a few to the backlog, which we need to like further discuss, and then they might be polled. But some of those, like the top one, for example, has been added to the backlog.
Ah, there you go.
So there's something we're aware of. Again, yeah, Kieran said he likes some of them. I think a few of us do like some of them, but it comes down to having the time to get to them.
Indeed. Cool, right, excellent. They're on the backlog, is the best thing we say. And of course, now we have a dedicated team to troll through that every week, which is also awesome.
That's troll through, not troll through.
Yes, trawl through, T-R-A-W-L. Skidoo asked, what's everyone's favourite joke, reference, or ongoing gag in-game?
I always like the herring on a tree.
I quite like that one. Modsween, got one?
Stick with the herring theme. I think probably the herring in the Feminine Trials quest.
That's pretty good.
Oh. I'm just going to go with like a thing that players do. I always find it funny whenever anyone puts a smiley face at the end of a sentence and they're like, oh, trying to get PMod, smiley face. But it always makes me laugh. It's not like an in-game thing, it's just a chat thing.
I do like that. Personally, one of my favourite jokes that actually we're adding to and we'll be adding to next week as well is, I think you're the first person to do it with your quests. I think in Swansong, if you have the items for the quest before you're told what the items are, I like the little snide remark where it's like, what a coincidence you're carrying that camel dung.
That would be my arms adventure,
Yeah.
yes.
I like those things. They were hints at knowing you've done that.
I think in the case of my arms adventure, if you happen to be carrying the right amount, enough camel dung around with you to do the quest, even before you might have known you needed camel dung, my arm will just vouchsafe to you that he thought he could smell something, but he assumed you'd had an accident.
I do enjoy that. Ms. Haltash, have you got one?
Any excuse to say RuneScape is not that kind of fantasy game. There's one in Corsair Curse. If you try to get the guy to get out of bed by doing certain things to him, he just lets you know that RuneScape is not that kind of fantasy game.
I didn't even know you added that, and I tested that. Easter eggs.
It's not on the critical path.
Yeah. What, Archie?
I can't really think of any that I find hilarious, but I mean, random events with scuba gear underwater.
I like that.
That's
one.
comical.
That's good.
Yeah.
Somebody had to code that. Somebody put the effort in to do that, which is always quite impressive.
I think for me it's when we do holiday events and shove as many puns as we can in a short space of time. It's normally when me and Maz get together on a holiday event, it's very cringe. To the point where Modsween doesn't like writing the news post.
Whenever,
I went all out for Easter though.
like whenever I touch any update that requires any dialogue change, I like to get as many things in as I can. And there's some stuff that's in game that's best not to be told. But
What?
yeah.
Have you been putting in the game, mate?
Well, you know what? There was one time when they wanted to be able to reclaim the Amulet of Accuracy, so you can reclaim the Amulet of Accuracy. That's all I'm going to say on that note. Grub asked, how does the team feel about quality of life updates aimed towards making Iron Men easier? Birdhouses have changed the prices of Bird's Nest and made brews trivial to obtain and made them mold-dead content. And the proposed updates for Buckets of Sand look to make crafting one of the easiest 99s for Iron Men. Why are so many quality of life essentially targeted at that kind of thing, I guess, is the question summarised?
I think the term quality of life in the context that we use it is very much a misnomer. We use the term quality of life, but that does include things that might buff stuff. I think qual is perhaps the wrong term to use for some of the things that we do.
I just label it as like content changes. But I mean, in terms of like why why does it feel like so many of them are targeted towards it? Well, it's because a lot of the times for normal people rather than iron people, you wouldn't have those issues of trying to gather supplies yourself. I guess variety isn't a bad thing, and like switching up the meta of training isn't a bad thing. Maybe we do need to be more cautious in the future of how many kind of supplies we bring in and how that impacts other areas of the game, like the PVM drop tables, for example. At some point, it was decided that the best way to give certain supplies was to get them from Slayer, and now a lot of people don't want that to happen. So I think that's probably where we need to spend more focus and energy and time into making sure that doesn't become a problem. But one of the reasons why there's things that seem like they're targeted towards Iron Men is because a large portion of the player base play as Iron Men, and just as much as you want a quality of life update to change your teleport option, as a normal player, an Iron Man has the same right to want to be able to have something that would help them, as long as it's not specifically catering towards them, which we obviously have done in certain instances, like instant corp and stuff to combat ragging and that kind of stuff. I don't think it's that much of a problem, as long as we're obviously just keeping in mind other areas of the game.
Cool.
What I do dislike is when it can prevent us making changes we feel are for the betterment of the game, but we're reluctant to disrupt the meta of Iron Man stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of making the changes, I'm quite mixed. Like, part of me is very much like the players. Like, you opted to play Iron Man, we pitched Iron Man as this is the game as you know it without being able to trade. You're getting, like, you know what you're in for.
Yeah.
But then there are quite a lot of Iron Men, and they have every right, as Aza said, to want an improved player experience.
Absolutely.
But
I would argue that playing Iron Man sort of shows where design for certain aspects is sort of lacking.
It opens up the flaws, doesn't it? It shows.
Because you have to do it all yourself, so you're not getting other people to do the sort of stuff you don't want to do. And then you realise, oh, I don't want to do it because it's a little flawed.
Like the things where we did with Tower of Life, when you wanted to get the spider's eggs, where it allowed you to just be able to click on it and it does it all faster rather than having to use items and things like that.
Yeah.
While it's only beneficial for Iron Men, it's a really good thing to have because it just takes out the bad part of what the content was.
Here's the thing, we didn't change it just for Iron people, we changed it to have better user flow as a feature in itself for anybody who goes near the thing. Happens that you probably don't want to go near the thing if you're not Iron, by the way, but you could, and it's not like we left the bad user flow for standard accounts and only did the better user flow for Irons.
That would be an example I think of if we were just focusing on Iron Men. If you're on Iron Men, we're going to have this different functionality versus...
Yes. On the other hand, when people say, can we put more hop seeds in that shop so that you can buy more there, because Iron players want to buy them from that shop because they can't get them off the ground in exchange for everyone else. We've declined to do that so far, on the grounds that if we're going to add more of those things, which I think we will, we're probably not going to do it by just dumping them in a shop and letting you spend more time clicking on the shop. More likely we'll offer them through some actual gameplay. It's been suggested that we rebalance, for example, the seeds you get off a Master Farmer. So sure, we'll give the things, we're aware that it's the Iron players who are having trouble getting them at the moment, but we're not necessarily going to either add an extra stock for Iron players that has lots of them so they can get them all from the shop conveniently. We'd go for an actual piece of gameplay that isn't that.
Yeah. Was the sand used in that question the one that we were discussing earlier? Glass destruction.
Pardon?
In the question it stated about buckets of sand suggestion.
Oh yeah.
Was that the one that we were discussing earlier?
It was the sandstorm spell that we've previously mentioned on the stream that we have now put in the backlog for the record, so it's something that we're going to look at in the near future, so you're aware. I am going to quickly move on. That was a good discussion, by the way. I'm going to move on to Mod Ghost. Has actually been doing a little bit of work on the Smoke Devil boss, or the Thermonuclear Dust Devil. He's slightly changed it graphically, so it's not just an enlarged version. And we're just going to show that to you now.
It looks so cool.
Okay, it looks really cool. And so the one on the right, of course, is the rework comparatively to the original. We're going to do a straw poll in the chat as well, if we can have that put in there. So just to get your opinion on it, do you think it looks good? Would you prefer the new one, or do you prefer the old one?
What's the glowing thing coming out of its nether regions?
When do you have the superior? Because it's essentially like the glow of the furnace inside of it. Because it is thermonuclear, so it's going to have some sort of...
Good save. Good save. Excellent. That is in the chat there, and we'll get those results up shortly. Thank you very much.
That originated from a player suggestion.
That was a player suggestion.
Yeah,
we didn't just throw it in.
That was really fast turnaround as well. I think it was tweeted yesterday or early hours of this morning, and it was originally kind of like the red one, wasn't it?
Yeah, someone put a red version up.
Yeah, it was
because we have the tools and to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. That is probably the highest straw poll I've ever seen. Should we update Thermonuclear Smoke Devil graphics with the Recolored version? 95% of you say yes with 1,112, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 votes.
Yeah, but inevitably though, I mean, we mentioned earlier that we asked this, everyone's saying, pet, does it change for pet?
Inevitably, I presume it would, but not instantaneously. I imagine that graphic hasn't been made at the moment, I think. I'm not too sure.
For that Smoke Devil pack, I think it is just a resized version of the boss.
Ah,
So
then
the boss changes.
Wouldn't have had the tools to do it any other way back in those days.
yeah, brilliant. Then it'll just do it by itself. The best kind of update.
So what you'd probably imagine is that there would be one of the upcoming polls that we would have, there'd be a question that would say, shall we change it to, and we'll put a little image of it, and then, by doing this, the pet would also change. And then you can vote on it and go from there.
Cool. I have a question here from Ed, and it is the Ed upstairs. I just thought it was kind of funny because we had this conversation the other day, and I thought I'd ask it: is Karamja a continent or an island? And if Zaya is a continent, what is the other mainland continent referred to? If Zaya is Zaya, what's not Zaya?
I thought this so
This question in particular came about because a particular user direct messaged me on Reddit, and I haven't responded to them yet, and I apologise, but it's because we literally spent the full day, not like obviously we were working, but in the chat,
We didn't work, only.
it's just that in the chat it was like constant back and forth, and it went to, if this is a continent, then does this mean this? And then before the end of it, it was like, is the Earth flat? And I'm just like,
Well, Gillinor is flat right now.
I apologise for not responding to the dude on Reddit. You've mentioned it to me a few times now. Let's have the discussion now. Is Karamja a continent?
It's a continent and an island. It's an island continent, as is Australia.
Yep.
Is
Fossil Island then a continent? Or is it Fossil Island?
Continent, not
Is it Fossil Continent?
Or Oceania?
No.
It's
That's
the whole of
region.
Gillinor, just a bunch of different islands, and it's one whole.
Is Ape Atoll really an atoll?
It's not actually.
No.
It's not made of coral.
It could have been when they named it that, I don't know.
Why did we? Anyway,
So I
raised.
do want to know what the mainland's called though.
I asked, I spoke to our brethren on the other game at RuneScape because I thought that they would have named it. It's something that they would have probably done at some point, I thought.
Yeah.
Evidently they didn't. It is just, the world is Gillinor, and they just refer to it as the mainland, but we have Zaya and the mainland, and they obviously have the Ark.
Unless that's what it's called, literally
Region.
just mainland.
Can you name all the different areas of the mainland?
Asgarnia, Misthalin,
Kandarin.
Mauritania.
I can't really.
I guess,
Caridian Desert.
how many NPCs in game actually are aware of other, like, how many NPCs in the mainland are aware of Zaya? They might not need to name the continent if they think that that's all there is.
For what it's worth, the Pirates of Pirates Cove almost certainly would have some traffic with the Piscarius people, even if they won't say where it is they're going, where they get all their stuff from, because it's the kind of thing they might want to keep to themselves. And what they call it is neither here nor there.
Cool. Right, I have one big chunk.
For what it's worth, there was, regarding what you said about the world being round or not, there was a postbag a long time ago where one of the people writing the postbag wrote back to say that the way they could see the shadow that was being cast on the world's moon, and from that they could see that the world would seem spherical.
Is that the moon, right?
We don't have
Yeah.
We don't have that postbag letter anymore, but it was archived on the wiki and it's still out there for anyone who wants to Google it.
Cool. I have a chunky question to end the stream. This is quite a nice one. It's directed at each of you at a time. If each member of the team could revamp an entire skill, which would it be, why, and how would they change it?
Oh,
Mod West, do you want to go first?
First? No.
I don't have
time to
I've actually had time to think about this if you want me to
Yeah,
go first.
you go first.
There you go on.
Okay. I thought that I've spoke with Paul and Ian about this because they also think, and I completely agree, herb law in its current state, the way that it currently works, you have to remember farming wasn't always a thing to get resources as well. The fact that it's just a buyable, get these things from a drop and create, wasn't as cool as they would have wanted it to be. You look at things like Minecraft and the way that they do herb law, herb law, they create potions.
Yeah.
It's a bit more in depth, it feels a bit more alchemical. Could have made it a bit cooler, I think, than just use herb on vial, use secondary on Vile, get 99, the end. That would be my skill. That's what I think.
True, there's not really much variety in Herblore now you mentioned that. I never just thought about it.
Yeah.
Just put stuff into a vial.
Well, if you've dumbed down the entire game, it's you clicking on a thing that does a thing.
I think perhaps rune crafting, when you first introduced to it with Rune Mysteries, it's this lost form of magic and using magic. And that's quickly forgotten about when all of a sudden all of our monsters dropped so many runes.
Yeah.
So kind of making that more integral to using magic.
It's funny because in Classic there was no rune crafting, and the only way you're getting your runes was monsters dropped them.
I think for me, I'd do smithing, but I wouldn't necessarily rework the skill as it is. I'd add. My thought is to like add a skill on the end. So essentially, you need to, in order to go through what is essentially the hell of a rebalance of smithing, because it stops at 99 with rune. Essentially, just add like another tier skill on the end that starts off from rune, but you have a threshold of smithing that you require in order to start the next one.
Interesting.
I would do construction.
Oh, I was going to say, I would play it safe as well. I would take I think it was Thurko that shouts about it a lot on Twitter at times. It was the blueprint idea.
I love that blueprint idea.
Like, I only got like 15 levels of construction. It was really, really fast. I get that it's really fast, and it's like, okay, cool, you just spend a load of money on it and you get it up really quickly. But just sitting there, 1, 2, 1, 2, click, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Well, it's also just there's no variety.
I'm just taking apart and rebuilding a larder. I'm just like, yeah, what's next? And there's nothing next because you just keep doing it.
We need a redwood larder.
It's almost the opposite end of the spectrum comparatively to fire making, where it's very little ways of training, but at least it has like a really cool reward. Whereas fire making, I think it has both issues of lack of training. Now we have Wintertodt, of course, but previously it was light logs to light higher tier logs, and then get skill care. The end.
You're just burning money, essentially.
You were literally burning money. Right. Sweden.
I was going to go with smithing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Anything?
I was going to say the construction thing Chris had.
Cool. Fantastic. Right, it's past 6 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and say this is the end of the stream. Thank you so much for watching. We had a lot of stuff to show off. We're going to host somebody as well, so stay around for that. Has anybody got anything else to add?
Yes.
Yes? It's on my pad. Oh, and the servers are now fixed, so there should be no more issues on that regard. So thank you all so much for watching. Smiley face in the chat. Be kind to one another, please. Have a wonderful day.
Wonderful day.
Over tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, we need to touch hands then. Ooh. Oh.